Welcome to English Grammar 2, Unit 59, Prefer and Would Rather. Part A. Prefer to do and prefer doing. Here we speak about prefer followed by to plus the base form and prefer followed by verb plus ing. We use both forms, to plus the base form and verb plus ing after prefer when we speak about things in general, or when we say what we prefer in general. You can use prefer to do or prefer doing, means prefer plus to plus the base form, or prefer plus verb plus ing to say what you prefer in general. For example, I don't like cities, I prefer to live in the country. Here we use prefer followed by to plus the base form. Or we can say it in another way, I prefer living in the country. Here prefer is followed by verb plus ing. Both cases are acceptable to express what we prefer in general. Study the difference in structure after prefer. We say, okay, here we are going to speak about forms. Follow the word prefer. For example, we say I prefer plus something noun plus to plus something noun, another noun. So we use prefer followed by noun plus to plus noun. The other form is I prefer plus verb plus ing plus something noun to as a preposition followed by verb plus ing plus noun or something else. The third case, I prefer to do something. Prefer is followed by to plus the base form plus noun or something. Then we use rather than. After rather than, we use the base form without to, infinitive without to, plus something plus noun. Or sometimes we drop the base form plus to and we use rather than followed by something, by noun. Let's see the examples here. First example, I prefer this coat to the coat you were wearing yesterday. Here we have the form prefer followed by noun, this coat, to, then comes to plus another noun. To here is not infinitive, to here is used as a preposition. So we say, I prefer this coat to the coat you were wearing yesterday. This is the first form or the first structure. Prefer followed by something plus to plus something else. The second example, I prefer driving to traveling by train. Here, prefer is followed by verb plus ing plus to as a preposition plus verb plus ing. So I prefer driving to traveling. Here, prefer followed by verb plus ing plus to plus verb plus ing. This is the second form. And the third form, I prefer to drive rather than travel by train. And here we have prefer followed by to plus the base form then followed by rather than and the base form. After that, infinitive without to. So it becomes like this, I prefer to drive rather than travel. Infinitive without to, travel. Base form, by train. Last example here in part A. Sarah prefers to live in the country rather than live in a city. Here the verb prefers followed by to plus the base form. To live, infinitive with to. In the country, then comes rather than. After rather than we have the base form, infinitive without to, live in a city. Or sometimes we can drop the verb live as it is repeated. So we say Sarah prefers to live in the country rather than in a city. Let's move to part B. Part B, would prefer, I'd prefer. Here would prefer, we use would prefer to say what somebody wants in a specific situation. Or in other words, we can say would prefer is used for specific situations, not for general situations. For example, would you prefer tea or coffee? The other person answers, coffee please, means this is a specific situation here. So this would prefer is used in a question in a specific situation here, and it is followed by noun, tea or coffee. It is not followed here by a verb. So the other speaker says coffee please means I'd prefer coffee to tea. I'd prefer coffee to tea. We say would prefer to do something, not doing. Okay. Would prefer is also followed by to plus the base form or infinitive with to. Shall we go by train? Speaker number one says, shall we go by train? The other speaker answers, I'd prefer to drive. I'd prefer to drive. And here the other speaker used would prefer plus to plus the base form. We don't say I'd prefer driving. We say I'd prefer to drive. I would prefer plus to plus the base form. Example number 2. I would prefer to stay at home tonight rather than go to the cinema. Here we use after would prefer, we use to stay, infinitive with to. Then comes rather than. After rather than we use base form, means infinitive without to, go. Here we say rather than go, infinitive without to, or base form. So the first part after would prefer, infinitive with to, and after rather than we use infinitive without to, the base form only. As in the example, I'd prefer to stay at home tonight rather than go to the cinema. Part C. In part C, we are going to discuss would rather. Would rather is followed by the base form, and it is equal to would prefer plus to plus the base form. Then would rather plus base form plus infinitive without to equals would prefer plus to plus the base form, or would prefer plus infinitive with to. We use would rather plus infinitive without to, means we use would rather plus the base form. Compare, shall we go by train? The other speaker might say, I'd prefer to drive. After would prefer, we have to plus the base form, we have infinitive with to. I'd prefer to drive. But If the speaker says I'd rather, then the speaker says I'd rather drive. We have, after would rather, we have drive. We have the base form or infinitive without to. We don't say I'd rather to drive. We don't use to after would rather. We use base form only. We use infinitive without to after rather. We say I'd rather drive. The next example, would you rather have tea or coffee? The other speaker says, coffee please. Would you rather have tea or coffee? Here it is a question. It is an offer. Here, would you rather have tea or coffee? And here we have, after would rather, we have the base form have. We have the base form have, infinitive without to. Infinitive without to. So it becomes, would you rather have tea or coffee? The other speaker says, coffee please. Means I'd rather have coffee, please. The negative of would rather is would rather not, plus the base form as well. For example, I am tired. I'd rather not go out this evening. Here we have would rather followed by the base form go, and the negative comes before the base form, and it becomes not. It becomes I'd rather not go. I'd rather not go out this evening. We don't say I'd rather not to go. No, we don't use to. We just say I'd rather not go out this evening, if you don't mind. The following example, do you want to go out this evening? I'd rather not. I'd rather not. Here we use not, and it is shortened. We say I'd rather not means I'd rather not go out. I'd rather not go out. We don't use to. But here it is a short answer, so the speaker says I'd rather not. We say would rather do something than do something else. After would rather, we use base form without to, infinitive without to. Then we use noun, something. Then we use than. After than, we use base form as well, and or infinitive without to, and noun as well, or something else. For example, I'd rather stay at home tonight than go to the cinema. Here, after would rather, we have stay, infinitive without to, or what is called base form. Then comes than, and after than, we use go to the cinema as well, a base form or infinitive without to. So, would rather than followed by base form and base form. Let's see part D. In part D, we have I'd rather you did something. Here, I'd rather means I prefer that you did something. Did something. Here, you have the action. Who is doing something? You, not the subject of the sentence. So when the subject of the sentence before would rather is different from the subject after would rather, or different from the noun after would rather, then we use past form. And here the past doesn't mean we speak about a past situation. Here we speak about present or future situation. We say I'd rather you did something when the person after rather is different from the person before would rather. Then we use past form, a past form to express a present situation or future situation. So we say, I'd rather you did something, not I'd rather you do. We don't use a present after you. We use past to express a present situation. We use the past for a present situation. Shall I stay here? First example, the other speaker says, I'd rather you came with us. Here, if you look at the question, shall I stay here? You think of a present situation, but the answer came this way. I'd rather you came. Here we have the verb came in the past, but the verb came here after would rather, and you is different from the subject before would rather. Then we use past simple after you, so it becomes I'd rather you came with us, and this is used for present situation, means I would prefer this. Example number 2, I'll repair your bike tomorrow. Okay, I'd rather you did it today. I'd rather you did it today. And here we speak about future situation or a present situation, but still the speaker used did after you. And if you look, you will find the subject before would rather is I, and the noun, the pronoun after rather is you, someone else. So here, when the subject at the beginning of the sentence is different from the pronoun after rather, then we use past simple after you to express the present situation or future situation. Example number 3, are you going to tell them what happened? No, I'd rather they didn't. No, I'd rather, here the subject I, and what comes after rather they, different from the subject in the beginning of the sentence. So the speaker here used didn't know, means used the past form after they, and it is used for a present situation. Mind this, what comes after you or they after would rather is past, and it is used for a present situation, and it is used for a present situation or for the future when the pronoun after rather is different from the subject before would rather at the beginning of the sentence. Shall I tell them, or would you rather they didn't know? Here we have would you rather they didn't know. We have they is different from you, so the speaker used didn't know, past simple after they, and this form is used for present or future. It is not used for the past. It is used for the present or the future, although the form is in the past. In this structure, we use the past, came and did, but the meaning is a present, not past. This is the conclusion. Here is a comparison. Let's see. I'd rather make dinner now. Here, who's to make dinner? I. The subject of the sentence is the same. So, the subject is not written after rather. So, we use the present simple and we speak about present situation or future situation. But the same person at the beginning of the sentence, the same subject at the beginning of the sentence comes after rather. That's why it is not written. So we use present simple for the present situation or the future. Another example, I'd rather you made dinner now. Here, I'd rather you made dinner now. Here we have after rather, we have you. It is different from the subject at the beginning of the sentence I. That's why we use past simple after it. So it becomes I'd rather you made dinner now, and we use here past simple for present situation because the subject is different. The subject of the sentence is different from the noun or the pronoun that comes after rather. So we use the verb in the past to express the present situation. But if the subject is the same, then it is not written after rather. And we use a present verb after rather to express the present situation. As in the first example, I would rather you didn't do something. Here we have after rather you. It is different from the subject I at the beginning. That's why we use here didn't, because the verb must be in the past, but it is negative, so it becomes didn't do something. Means I'd prefer you not to do it now. Means we speak about a present situation. Example number 1, I'd rather you didn't tell anyone what I said. Here the subject I, and what comes after rather you, someone else. That's why we use past simple, and it is negative. So told becomes didn't tell, and it is used for a present and a future situation, though the verb is in the past simple. Shall I tell Linda what happened? I'd rather you didn't. Here the second speaker answers, I'd rather you didn't. We have the subject I, and the pronoun after rather is different from I. It is you, someone else. That's why we use the verb in the past to express the future, and it is negative, so it becomes didn't. So the answer becomes this way, I'd rather you didn't. And here we don't speak about past situation, we speak about future or a present situation, though we use a past verb. That's all. Thank you.